RoundTable professionals in the real estate industry is more about business, but it's also trying to help the generation coming, and also to ensure that as much as possible, some of those stories we think are just normal to us, we don't realize that it does a lot for others. So it's basically just impact, vulnerable conversation.
There is a little portion of us who have the potential to be innovative. When you sat in the midst of elders, you were to shut up. So you were to take what you were told. And so we've taken a lot of things without even knowing we're taking them, because this is how they have always been done. And data is a key component.
Hi, John. So it's good to have you here. I've been trying to get you on this for a while. So just to give you a bit of a background, the RoundTable is, professionals in the real estate industry is more about business, but it's also trying to help the generation coming, and also to ensure that as much as possible, some of those stories we think are just normal to us, we don't realize that it does a lot for others. So it's basically just impact, vulnerable conversations, and we're good. So I'm sure it's over a decade, right? I still remember, when we used to just have conversations. I think it was LBS at some point, church at some point, and there was just a connection, So the charisma and the push for business, the persuasive, and I'm sure these are things I've not said before, I have seen it, and business has evolved over time. So we just want to know your story up until your current gig, Construct. Just to give us a bit of background about yourself, so that for those that don't know, you can just give us that background.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And you're absolutely right. We've tried to do this for a bit. Somebody said to me the other day, but I haven't seen you in a while. I said, man, I haven't seen myself in a while, because when you're building something, it just sort of takes everything from you.
Absolutely.
But I also say it gives you everything, at the end of the day, that you really want. What's life without achievements? What's life without pushing boundaries? So if you're out there right now and you're building something and it seems like it's taking everything from you, it's going to bring you everything as well. My journey has been very, very eventful. Started out as a real estate agent, and I say to people, not because I had one special premonition, it was because that was an easy thing to do.
Inroad, yeah.
All I needed to do was find somebody who had a property to sell, and somebody who wanted to buy it. And it's funny to say, but in my early days, I used a magazine called Castle. And Castle would have properties listed for sale. But crazy, it had a page somewhere close to the back that also had requests. And so I would spend hours.
What do you mean? Like
requests for properties.
Oh, I
so
never knew that.
people also saying yes.
I never knew
A lot of people didn't notice those pages. So people also saying, I'm in need of a 3-bedroom in here with this budget.
One magazine, the person that needs it and the
supply.
Person that wants demand and supply in one place.
And so I started out matching demand and supply.
Wow.
And at some point, joined a bigger, more established real estate firm owned by my brother-in-law at the time, and just sort of learned the principles of business. I cut my teeth there. He was somebody who thought big. So I always say that he expanded my mind. And somehow I just knew that there was greatness on the horizon. Didn't know exactly how. Exactly. And it brings me to the first principle that I like to, say to people, which is just do the best at where you are first. Sometimes you can't see 10 steps ahead. When you drive in your car and you want to go to Ibadan, you turn on your lights, you don't see Ibadan. You see the end of the street where you are. So you have to give your best to the end of the street.
So that you can see the other
make left,
stretch.
Then see another stretch, right? And that was it for me. It was, I'm working for this guy. I'm going to do my best. Ended up becoming the brightest on the group, closed the most transactions.
So what was he doing? Was he selling real estate?
Agency.
Good.
So, he was doing a lot of things, but he hired us for agency. We were agents, right? And our job was to find properties and then find buyers, take them for inspections, match them, try to close them.
Super.
And I think for me, always been sort of lazy. I want to do more. And my question is, how can I do more? And it brought me to thinking that if I was able to stage these properties for my users, it will help them make a buying decision faster. And so I got a friend who was in, architecture class, your colleague who could do 3D. We agreed on a small deal. And every time I was trying to sell a property that had certain kind of value, I got him to design it in 3D to show the users how they can use it.
Wow.
Game changer.
And that's not even your property. So that means for you to be an agent and adding, that's pure value. Perfect.
And, everybody says, it seems, things are saturated. Yes, agency was saturated at the time. It probably still is, right? But I started to see how I could add value to make my own touch points with my customers more meaningful, such that they wanted to sort of deal with you. And typically people at a certain class, they like better service, right? If you're able to provide that. So that really helped. But what it also did was that it now brought the next question when they bought the properties, which is, can you now help us furnish it? So you've shown us this fine furnishing, you've shown us how it can be set up. How can we do this? And that's how my interior design company was.
So I didn't know the part before now. This is the part I started knowing.
Exactly, faultless finish. And this is when we met at LBS in 2016, I think. Wow.
Can say that again.
2016. I'm not old. You know me, I'm just 22. I don't know about you. I'm Gen Z. I identify.
You need to identify. You need to identify.
Anyway, that's how sort of faultless finish started. And I won't bore you with all the details. Of course, did that for over 10 years. And at some point got into development as well. So it was a natural progression.
Yes.
And while I worked for one of the big developers, in the Lekki axis, the biggest challenge we had then was how to be more efficient, right? He wasn't lacking for money. He wasn't lacking for the concept. He wasn't lacking for the ability to set up a team, but it wasn't just as efficient as he would have liked.
So capacity was there, but being efficient.
So he said, John, I want to bring you in and, come and see what we can do, how we can make things a bit more efficient. And I remember building out a tool on Excel that helped me manage my inventory, for materials, because I realized that 80%, 85% of construction costs, between 75 and 85, depending on who is building and depending on a lot of factors, is accounted for by the materials. And so if I was able to make that more efficient, I had solved 80, 85% of the problem. And so I built something I called the faultless inventory management system on Excel that just basically helped me capture all the best vendors with the best prices. He was big, so he had access to these guys. He sent me to them. I captured them. And then I captured what we were buying from them and how we were judiciously using this on a day-to-day, try to build patterns out of this. I knew nothing about technology. This was just me looking for a way to be efficient. And after using that for a while, it had helped. One of the times I had shown him a report, it showed us so much. People who don't understand the concept of data are practically in the dark. Like there's so much you can see when you start analyzing your data, any data, right? And so it occurred to me that this was something that a lot of people need. And I remember speaking to you as well.
Yes.
I spoke to a couple friends in this space. I said, hey.
You spoke about the cement. I remember I remember vividly a conversation about Offcut and how that quantity, that volume of projects made you just see a heap of Offcut tiles, and you realize that this size is. In fact, I think you even put it into, you monetized it and said this is how much, and I think that
used the heap of Offcuts that were being. So before we came, they were paying the abokis to carry it away. So we are spending more money on the money. We stopped that and we got those Offcuts to become skirtings for over 10 units of housing.
Wow. I think that caught me. In fact, I started watching stuff like that. In fact, at that point, I realized that no matter how you want to have that finesse, be careful of your choice of tiles when you're tiling, so that you don't, by the time you start saying living room different, bedroom different, or living rooms for different houses, different, particularly when you're doing multiple, you begin to just waste. Then I also realized from that conversation how you need to, from design the spaces to be the tile. So if it is 600 square meters, make sure you do 3.2 meters by whatever else you're doing, because that Offcut, you don't realize when you are building one house for one guy is okay. When you are building multiple, you realize that you're going to cut that tile. So if you're doing a step, there's that part that you might just cut off and you just keep cutting it off, So that was one conversation. I know I never stopped speaking about it after that.
It's amazing what data can do. And, sometimes because in Africa we're still fighting survival, we think data is a luxury. We think, talking about data, but the truth is the amount of waste, the amount of savings, the amount of strategy, you just talked about how you're even designing, that can come out of just looking at what you do. Especially at scale where 2% is significant. So if you're doing projects worth 100 billion, for example,
that 2% is like
that's a whole nother project for somebody else.
Yes, very true.
That's more housing. That's changing the game. A lot of people think real estate is just land and buildings. No, real estate is community, it's culture, it's lifestyle. The guy who controls the real estate, he controls the future.
Yes, it does.
He controls how we interact with ourselves. It's bigger. And so for me, I thought about it and I said, hey, I guess I was also tired of shouting. Sometimes we say the nice ones. Let me say some of the not so nice ones. I was also tired of shouting at workers. And I say, when I sell cement, I'll never shout at a bag of cement.
Yes, it's easy.
I'll never shout at
this? Why are you wasting that? Why
So I decided, you know what? I'm going to step out of the boat and I'm going to support my guys who are developers like yourself.
Super.
Let me go and fix the building material side of things, how we buy, how we procure. Currently, a lot of people are talking to, you buy over 30 different materials when you're building one project. And if you're doing a proper procurement system, it means you typically will talk to 3 people to find the best price. So 3 times 30 is 90 conversations. Even if you were buying 20, 3 times 20 is 60 conversations. It's 60 files. It's 60 email trails. It's 60 sets of invoices over different times.
Period, yeah.
If I became a super aggregator, right, and I helped everybody deal with this, what that means is that I would have taken off the headache of those multiple conversations. And what you want is materials at the right price, at the right quality, and you can get that knowing that you're dealing with a business that understands that you're not just building houses, you're delivering a promise. So for every time homework is name a new building, Devon Court. It's a promise that you have made to a few off-takers plus a few that are going to come along the way. And we understand that. So that's how we sort of got into Construct. And we coined the name from cutting costs in construction with the use of technology. And what are we trying to do? Very simple. We're trying to look for processes that already work, use technology to enhance them and make them repeatable so that you can do it every single time.
Wow. Interesting. So that brings me to, I knew that we were going to just spin off on different things. So first of all, on the one side, I need you to just hone in more on data. There's a big reason for that because many of us have it. We don't know how powerful it is. We might look at it at a period, but we don't even realize how more important it is over a period of time. So please just help us break that down before we go into Construct proper, because I need to ask some questions about that.
Fantastic. And I think when I started understanding the power of data was maybe in that period where we knew ourselves, or slightly earlier. I was applying for a visa, and they ask you to bring your bank statements. And so I had to print my statements. And one of the days I'll never forget, I was sitting in front seat of my car, my driver was driving, and I just had this envelope of statements. So I said, let me just look at it. At the time, I only used to buy petrol from that Oando that became Enyo by House on the Rock, Ikate. Because they were the new mega station. I think they were the ones that had POSs. They were very on point. They would make sure your tank was full. The petrol was always...
A lot of points, so you probably get there quickly, get out.
Exactly. So there was just something about them. So I always use them, and I'll never forget. Their POS code had something that was LALANG. In my head, I call it Lalang. I don't know what it is. Probably Lagos something. I have no idea what it is, but it was part of their POS code. And so I looked at this thing, and I saw Lalang, 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 whatever it is. And every single time I was filling my car with approximately 14,000 naira. Bro, when I calculated how much I was spending on petrol, my heart broke. Because at this time, I didn't own a property. I didn't own an asset. I didn't own anything. And I was spending so much on, and I could afford it. If you brought me a plot of land, I would say I can't afford it because you are asking me to pay it.
Yes, lump sum once.
But 14K.
You realize that
I
what
had
that
bought
14K can do.
10 plots that I didn't buy. That's the power of data. In a week, I had sold my SUV. I was back in a Corolla. Because I said, bro, I started setting aside the difference. At that time, it cost me 6K to fill my Corolla tank. I started setting aside the difference between 14 and 6. I can't tell you what that money is today. That money was the first seed money for Construct.
Wow.
Because I said, you would have spent 14K. So every time you buy petrol, take the difference of 8K and shove it here. Game changer. Data is so powerful. It sounds so complex. That's why I've used this simple example. Tracking. At Construct, for example, we track how many minutes it takes us to respond when somebody requests for cement. And there was a time it used to be as much as 3 hours. Until you start tracking it, you don't even know. Today, our threshold is 10 minutes. And last week, we did 8. The week before, we did 5. There have been weeks where we've done 3. Average response time. It only came because we tracked it. And when you track it, you can see it. There is data in Nigeria. It is just in everybody's phone, everybody's pocket, and everybody's personal device. Now, until the banks came and we started spending money through cards, Lagos said cashless Lagos, we couldn't have data that we have today. Today, as a developer, when you read the data on 30 December, it can inform your choice of development. The only reason you can make those decisions is because somebody is now capturing that spend. Part of the reason why real estate is tough to find financing, except for a few of us who have hacked it, is because there's no data. There's no public data. There's just everybody doing everything in silos.
Yes, in silos.
So until we move to platform engagement where we can now distill data, we'll continue to have these challenges. Now, everybody has to create their own credibility themselves. Homework is doing a fantastic job. A couple of companies are doing the same. But except you do that for yourself, prove yourself by yourself, that's it.
That's it.
And it's clear, bro, that we're not delivering enough houses a year. Total houses delivered last year was how many? Maybe north of 1,000. All of us combined. That means there's still a lot of room. If you check the housing deficit, there's still a lot of room for. And data is a key component because the financier needs to know the turnaround time between start to finish of projects. He needs to know what kind of financing to apply to this. He needs to know what is the percentage inflation rate. For example, last year was 30%. I have customers who are now saying, let's consider some creative ways to front load our purchasing of materials so that we don't hit that 30%.
Yes.
And those creative ways can cost us 7%, 8%, 10% that we can plan. So first of all, we're saving it as against inflation, But more importantly, we are planning it. We know it ahead. As against when inflation hits you,
Yes.
you don't know what it is.
Yes.
It sort of just throws you. So data is such a powerful thing. And I think the easiest way to look at it is finding ways to track what we do. Data is basically activities tracked that you can look at again, you can measure over time, and you can make decisions with. We've made it too funky, so classy. Everyone's like data. So when some people think about data, they just think it's just one. They shut down.
So I'll tell you a story, and this just resonates with what you're saying. I think it also affects your mindset. Some years back, I borrowed money from a mortgage bank, and they had their, which is why I like when you said finance, and some of us have hacked it. Then it was like, okay, the mortgage bank is giving you money, they're telling you must pay, your moratorium is this, you must pay by this time. We're under pressure to pay the money. Because we're under pressure to pay the money, and they were coming at us, your property, yeah, we'll take it, you must pay today. That was what I was spending my time thinking about while the projects were going on. Like I was thinking about it under pressure. You almost even think you're a failure. Oh, I'm failing. Then somebody came in, a friend of mine. Jide, send me your statements. He looked at the statements. He said, first of all, this big project is going to cost you about 400 million to finish. You only borrowed 150, even though you are still working with the offtake. You have all the offtake, like you've sold everything. So this is your projected amount coming in. This money they give you is not enough to pull through. They are asking for it prematurely. It's too early in the project, right? But I can see 700 million sitting down here in the future. Let's go and meet these guys. At that point, they were not even in Lagos. So the people that are looking for us, we said, hello, where's your ED? Where's your, what's it called? We're coming. And then we went all the way to Oshobo. We were shocked. These guys that were chasing there. And we came and said, look, spreadsheet, everything. Look, you're doing something wrong. This is a cash. You're even killing it. Restructure this thing. There's money there. The more you keep on doing this, the more those guys are not going to pay. But there's money there. They just, within the ED just wrote some letters. Within some days, okay, just pay us this part of it so that we can restructure. And
really all they're looking for is at that point, they're just looking for your willingness to pay.
Yes.
Because they've seen the big picture.
And it worked. We are still with them now. This is like, say, 7 years. We're still with them. The second one, very funny. And it's kind of like tied to what you do. And I own a reinforcement supplier. Now, this reinforcement supplier was always, we were using only him. And it was always coming. So what we do is we give you a supply, 30 days. We might not be able to make up that 30 days. We are paying you from other projects. We're trying to pay from other places and all that. And this guy comes in maybe at the end of the year. Maybe we're owing him like 30 million naira. And it's okay to say because it's important for people to learn from this. And he's coming and he's calling police and he's calling. He's like, I'm like, guy, relax now. We've been with you since. He took the police to ask me, sorry, Mr. Jide, what quantity, what amount, what revenue, what volume of transaction have you done with this guy this year? And I said, hold on, I'm coming. And we checked. And this guy had collected close to 450 million naira. We're owing him 30 million. Guess what? That 30 million was 2 million balance project A, 4 million balance project B, 3 million balance project C. So he now said, first of all, you are an ungrateful man. He gave you all of this. And if I clear the percentage, and last year he did 300 million with you. Last year, and all of a sudden, one kind of confidence started coming with me. I said, come. Okay, don't disturb me. Oh. Can you realize that? Do you understand? So I can see how it shapes the way we think. It shapes the way we write what is wrong. It shapes the way we also envision certain things. Because I can imagine how many people will have been harassed by the bank and fold up. Meanwhile, he has a very good business. I can imagine how many people would have, you can imagine what, already now, you can imagine what a reinforcement supplier, how they are. they can come to the front of your gate and put a
Aggressive.
bed, and they're aggressive. That aggression turns to emotions where you now stop thinking about the way forward and you're thinking about just settle this guy. You're thinking now, you're forgetting every other thing. And I realize
and that's you, the good guy.
Yes.
The bad guy is thinking of how to fight back.
Yes,
Because
fight
this
back.
guy stepped on his
What's
ego.
this? Why did you do this? Why do you try to
You came
fight
to
back?
block my gate.
Exactly.
My customers are...
Exactly.
It can,
Exactly.
That's even a good part.
Yeah. So for me, these are two clear examples of what data. The data just said, "Hello, bros. Can't you see what you're doing? You are good. You are even good in terms of numbers. If you are in another country, you're a bad guy. You understand? And the bank will probably come and say, sir, how can we support you more? Other than writing you those letters and making it seem like a criminal. They will write. They will say we are coming. In fact, they now have the EFCC type uniform when they want to come to your office to say they are coming.
Because there's a whole thing. They want to embarrass you. They want to make sure you're uncomfortable.
Exactly.
And how can you produce like that?
So important for data. But John, we're going to talk about real estate generally, but let's move to CutStruct particularly. And my reason for saying this is a very good, very, very, it's a solution, probably a place that people don't look at. Again, data. I did analysis last 2 years. Maybe we do like 6 billion, 7 billion. And I realized that at every time, it was always hovering between 65 and 75% of our entire cost. I'm talking of plus operations. I'm not talking about just construction.
So this is full operations.
Procurement is clearly 65 to 70%, sometimes 75% of the entire revenue. It went to paying for materials. And I'm adding other things like approval. I'm adding other things like operations. I'm adding other things so it's a major part. Now, many things have to happen there. If you lose there, you lose big. If they're stealing from you, they're stealing big. No matter how small it may look. Now, because of this, you've realized a couple of things from what you do. You've dealt with other companies. I'm trying to talk to developers, construction guys now, so that we see the value in this. You've seen different things. You've seen the problems. I just want you to highlight the first sort of 5 or just freestyle. What you see is typically the issue, number 1. Because some people can't just see it. Some people that are listening to you now, they're hearing data and they're like, okay. And that's why I'm trying to point it to the decisions they make. Because you might be making the wrong decision and the data is even getting worse. So what is the value, number 1? How does it help? Then you can segue that into what has happened recently with fluctuation, forex, fluctuation, the multiple forex and inflation, because it happened to a lot of us. And what we had to do was to go back to some of the clients sincerely and say, look, we will have done the hash business way and say, sell it now for the new guys, make times 4 and pay back. But for me, integrity wise, I'm like, let me have a conversation with you. We need to pay more money. And this is difficult. I've never charged variations. This was the first time I had to say, come, let's talk. And it was hard. But it's a business, and I could make more money if I wanted to make more money. People were ready to pay times 4. I'm talking about from 250 million to 1.2 billion. And people were begging to give it to me. And I remember this guy gave me money when we started. Now, come on. And even those people that I'm trying to fight for, they try to fight me.
They're fighting you.
Some still fought me. Went to SFU, went to this, tried to block account. And I'm like, you don't really understand what's going on. So I just want you to have that, because I know this will have been an issue, and you'll have had to manage that. And you also know the pain points for developers, because there are people listening now, and having that data around other developers will also make them understand that this is a problem and it's better you solve it this way. So what's the value you guys are bringing? What are the problems, the pain points you see that we have, or the things that you see that are happening that we don't even know is happening within our organizations? And then we can now segue into the inflation conversation.
I think it's a very complex problem. So in fairness to everybody who is dealing with it, you're trying. It's complex. If you start from the fact that generally we're wired for survival, and so a lot of times we are looking for the quickest fix just because it's a pain, that one is already enough reason, for us to do business the way we currently do it.
Reactive, very
We're
reactive.
reactive. It's how we were wired, When you sat in the midst of elders, you were to shut up. So you were to take what you were told. And so we've taken a lot of things without even knowing we're taking them, because these are how they have always been done. You speak to people on site, say, why do you do this thing like this? They don't even know. Say, and that's what we did do. So we've continued in that. The second thing is that reason of maybe education, or exposure is where I was going, but I was going to say first opportunities. Because even exposure, sometimes you need an opportunity to be in the room for somebody to give you some exposure, or to be on a trip to see things in another country. That opportunity, everybody will not have it. And so the few of us that potentially have it, we're in the boardroom dealing with the mortgage bank that is trying to take money from you. We are not on site. And so even when sometimes we think about innovation, by the time we think of our structure and how that innovation needs to, because at the end of the day, bros, you're not the one that is going to receive cement on site. If you're the one receiving cement on site, that means there's a job you're not doing.
There's a structure problem.
So sometimes it's tough. The other thing is that we're in a very low trust society as a country. Then real estate, particularly low trust. So we're in a minus situation. There are certain industries in our country that still have a bit more trust. And so these are some of the underlying reasons why a lot of people will just fence off and say, you know what, I go run am by myself. It's biting me. It's killing me. But I try to understand that first. Because if you don't understand that, then you think, why is this guy? Is it not a no-brainer?
Yes.
So that's the first thing. And I think accepting that and now taking a healthy or a non-defensive look at your business approach is what we now need to do to now say, what is really going on here? How are the processes going? Now, the other thing about survival, the guy who you hired, he's looking at you, not you, but some developers, you drive in a range, you have Mopo following you, and he's thinking, when will I be you? I was talking to a developer friend of mine. Construct had done a presentation. He looked at his team. He said, everything good. Everybody said, everything good. So is there any reason why this won't work? Everybody said, no. He said, okay. We saw ourselves 6 weeks later. And he said, how far have we started? I said, no. He said, really? Why? I said, well, I have done everything. Your guys don't move. So he invited me back. We sat down. He brought the same guys back. He said, guys, this man was here 6 weeks ago. And we did a presentation. He said, how far? They said, well, they've just been busy. They've not looked into it.
There's something there.
I left him. Because the truth is, I know his problem. His problem is that he is not his structure. And even he is finding it difficult to impose a new way on his structure. Next time I saw him a few weeks later, I said, I noticed that your procurement guy is not there again. He said, you have to fire the guy. I said, why? He said, the guy is richer than him. The CEO. Because the guy
is a little fraction of that. You see that 70% you're talking about? These guys can be making 10 naira, but from many different places.
So the reality is that sometimes we have to look at these things from the perspective of what we want in the big picture. And it's never the sweetest to change. In fact, it also informed how we do business. We launched in 2019, and 2023, towards the end, we were about to die. I met my investors. We had a conversation. One of the things they said to me is that, John, I think you're trying to do too many things at the same time. I said, what do you mean? They said, you're trying to change how people operate in too many different ways. I was trying to stay true to myself as a company because I'm a technology company. The company name is called Construct Technology. And so it's supposed to be only tech, solely tech. But they said, how about if you packed the tech for a bit, focused on what they want now, which is materials at the right price, right quality, right time, dealing with less number of vendors, and just sell to them materials. Game changer.
So before it was what?
You had to do it through the technology. Same materials, but you needed to log in, send
But
the
you are the
request.
one that has to go send the request to all
I
of that.
do the technology myself now. Some people want to send you their requests on WhatsApp, we take it.
Yes.
Want to send you a request on email,
Yeah, so you deal with putting in the data.
I deal with putting in the data. But the important thing is that I also help them because there's so many things that businesses don't consider when they're costing a project. We cost the tangible direct costs. I have somebody, they're going to do a project in Kaduna. They said, this thing is cheaper in this place, so let's buy it here. Oh yeah, move it now. They didn't know that when they move it, there's the logistics, there's checkpoints, there's omonile, there's so many things that they can't account for. The questions I ask when I am about to supply you will solve those problems for you. At Construct, we have something we call site mapping. Site mapping is where we understand the nitty-gritties of that site.
This is peculiar. It's peculiar to different sites, different locations.
Peculiar, and you have to understand that. If you don't, you will run into a loss. Right? And so the value is all those extra things that build up to your cost. Letting someone who is, that's my dedicated job, to get it done. And sometimes it's uncomfortable because you are used to, we're used to owning stuff, we're used to doing everything ourselves. We have a department for everything. It's how we're wired. But the reality is that organizational structure should be focused on not too many goals.
I think it's even, apart from that, it's even changing. Like, things are changing now. Even your normal staffing is changing now.
Has to change.
Has to change.
Your guys will be more efficient if they spent less time chasing drivers. If they spent less time checking, this one no good, change them. This one good, change them. This one no. At some point, sometimes they will even just take it that time is going, we need to cast. Manage them.
Yes.
You are not there. Yes. You think the guys whose buildings collapsed, they just sat down and said, I want my building to collapse. No, they didn't. Sometimes, make no mistake, the man at the top, you are responsible.
No
So
matter
I'm not
what,
even trying to deflect.
Happens, responsible.
But the reality is that there are many decisions that you were not privy to because you can't. And so for us, the way we look at it is, what can you outsource? What can you, especially because of the level of complexity, what can you let a professional, a consultant, somebody who is focused on that day to day deal with? So that you can deal with keeping your promise, finding your off-takers, finding your financing.
The main thing.
The main thing.
Focus on the main thing.
That's how we see it. It's specialization as against generalism, which is not bad. But in an industry like construction, it's tough because it's very complex. The other thing is some of the other problems around financing will now be easier to solve. Right now, Construct has direct access to lines of credit that a lot of individuals might not be able to get as a result of the scale that we are operating in, because our scale is the aggregate scale of all our clients, while each client has his own scale.
His own scale. Yeah, so if a client is doing, in my case now, if I'm saying, you did 6 billion last year and 70%, let's say like 5 billion was on material. If you have 10 of us, that's 50 billion.
Do you know that at some point, we can almost determine our costs. Because we're taking away, I tell my people, don't let me drop all my secrets here. I tell my people, a discount is not the emotional begging you begged somebody to give you something. A discount is the calculated cost reduction you cost for him and told him to transfer it to your position.
Yes.
So if I have 55 billions,
yes,
and I said to the guy that, what is your marketing cost?
You don't need it. What will it have cost you to get this 50 times 5?
You would have spent X amount to move your materials from here to these guys, and you will still lose some because some guy will still sell to them. I'm guaranteeing them for you. Game changer. It's already happening. That's what we're already doing. We're already aggregating at the scale that we are, and it can be so much more. The second thing is, you're taking too many of my gems today.
Is for this. Let them know the value.
A lot of times, the biggest opportunities to miss are the ones that are easy. Because we are wired for difficult things. You want to set up an office.
Yes, you
hire staff.
Your list of goals is the difficult things that are on the topmost priority.
You've even forgotten why you're doing it. It now becomes, I promise you there's somebody who is making all the money you want in your dreams, not the one you're making already. And the person doesn't move because the person was born in this generation where they can dance on TV and be billionaires in dollars.
It's a reality.
Reality. When I went, I was invited to speak at the #1 prop tech event in the world. All expense paid trip. They said, John, we see what you're doing in Nigeria. We need you to come and talk about it. And I went. What I saw shocked me. All the foreign prop tech companies like mine, their investors are the real estate companies. Do you know why? First things first. The real estate companies need these solutions, but are not wired to fix those solutions. They are wired to do the business they do.
Yes.
So, in a sense, they have backward integrated into their consultants' business, which means that the efficiency that our solutions bring, they will be the first partakers of it. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the real estate businesses are wired to make profits in the way they are. I won't get into that, but the part I want to talk about is the tech businesses are built for exits. And so, based on the scale of transactions they do, their valuations grow and they potentially exit either by mergers and acquisitions or IPO or outright sale. And the real estate companies have that as a form of income. It's probably their easier income. Because I promise you, bro, you know the blood, sweat, and tears you put in to make the ₦1 you make.
Sometimes you think it's not worth it. And you lose sometimes, actually. Particularly those that are after integrity. You lose. So you can actually lose on a project.
A friend of mine said to me, he said, I have 3 types of projects. I don't remember exactly how he said it. He said, the one that I finished well, and I will never make money.
True.
The one that, at some point I said, I was about to speak French, to hell with this guy. And I made small money. And I think he said the third one is maybe the one where a bit of quarrel and everything, and maybe it just broke even.
Yes. Very, very true.
There's no one where you just make money without a scar.
Yeah, very true.
In real estate.
In fact, the ones that end up really solid, you do not make money. Particularly if you are somebody that is after value, you don't make money.
And so the real estate companies now have an opportunity to gain on the upside. And it comes in thousands of dollars. I have a deck for it. Hilti invested in a company called Fieldwire. They exited. They sold the company something like $300 million. They exited with like $40 million. Bros, do you know how many houses you sell to make $40 million?
I mean, well, you really do nothing.
All they did was what they do every day. I got, I was saying to a friend of mine, we're talking about this same thing. I said, bro, how much will you spend this year? He said about 9 billion in development. So whether you know construct or not, you'll spend 9 billion.
Yes.
Let's end it there. Extrapolate the rest. So what are we doing?
Yes. We need to talk. We need to talk. We need to talk. So I like that. I like that model because you are investing in something that is a solution for you. So it's two ways.
You're investing in your supply chain.
Yes.
You're becoming. Imagine yourself as a restaurant. You're cooking food, and you're becoming a part of the market, a stakeholder in the market. You must buy carrots. You must buy tomatoes. You must buy beef. You are now a part of the market selling you the beef. It's really a no-brainer.
Super.
Should be a no-brainer.
Super. So let's move into that whole inflation thing. That period, what was it like?
I think, fortunately for construct, we are sort of insulated from it, but we can't deny it because our customers feel it.
Yes, I mean, the guy that is... I mean, you would have had to do a lot of communication. Well, maybe the developer will have been quiet because he can't buy. Because I remember there was a period where you pay for reinforcement and the guy tells you, I can't supply till tomorrow because I need to know the new price. So once dollar changes today, they are not sure they can do that supply. They call you the next day and say, I want to return your money to you. It is 1 million more. It is 500K more per ton, per whatever. You pay it. They still tell you to wait another 24 hours. And then that's how the thing just started raking up. So that midpoint between how the developers were taking it, because I mean, you're not the kind of person that will say, well, whenever you're ready, you understand their pain points. So you would have to talk to a lot of them. So I just want to know how.
The reality is that the kind of deals we have insulate us from that.
Okay.
So whenever we do a price lock, it is for a period. And we can guarantee that period. In fact, our job is to make sure nothing changes. We never tell you stories. Never. And so sometimes the guys we buy from, they are maybe secondary, tertiary, they're like the third hand, so they don't have that much control. We deal with OEMs from source. So their word is their bond. In fact, the only thing close to this we had once, somebody had price locked, my madam, I'm sure she's hearing this, had price locked cement for 4 weeks. So she had paid us money. We had also price locked it 4 weeks. Now, the prices of cement were going to change at the third week. So 2 weeks in, we got a call from our rep at the factory saying,
it's going to go happen.
We know we price lock for 4 weeks, but we cannot keep it for 4 weeks. We're giving you 1 week to come and take it. Now, unfortunately, she had a space constraint. So we went to her and we said, hey, madam, this is the situation. Oh. And it's bigger than us. Construct does not manufacture cement. The price is going to change. You've gotten the courtesy of a heads up. That's the best you can get. And so she complained about it. Of course, she wasn't happy. We tried to supply. We supplied some, and we were left with some because the site just could not take more than that. But you see, this was much better than what you're talking about. Price has changed, bring money. No conversation.
You know he was locked.
The other thing is that guy, he's only thinking of himself. We are thinking of you. A lot more. So, in fact, if we were to make a 2 naira, we have added it to her, this thing. Let her be able to. Remember, we're dealing with 200 of her. As against the other guy who is looking at everybody individually. We're looking at you as a lump sum, right? So at the end of the day, what finally happened was that We supplied as much as we could, and then the little sum that was left, we now supplied at the new price, which means she lost some bags.
Out of the whole
But
thing.
you can see the layers of information she had
Communication, key communication.
that,
And she's not oblivious of the issue. She knows that issue exists. So she's not oblivious of the issue.
It was quite clear. You
key.
can understand what is happening. So for us, prices will never change on you. What can change is different materials. We have price lock periods. So we have people who vault cash with us to price lock materials. Some are 1 week, some are short. Some are every day they change. Even though we've been able to build relationships where we now have a way of keeping it longer than what individuals will get. So you can price lock slightly longer. But that's the closest to that we have had, just because of the way we are set up. And that's what I was talking about. Is like, this is my core business. So this is what I do every day. Part of what I think about every day is how can I beat inflation?
Yes.
And we're just set up for that.
Yeah. Okay, so John, I think for the purpose of some people listening, very, very simplified. What does Cutstruct do? And can you just walk us through a typical process, simplified, in the sense that why am I using you? And then when I get a supply, this is exactly what happens, and that just makes it very clean. And because I know a lot of people are listening, we're going to be able to tap into that, because I believe that this is one of the future. This is one of the things that I feel is the future. So there's a question going into the future of real estate. What you see, I'm asking those that I know had to grind when others were. I know, in fact, I've identified all of them, one after the other, that they weren't speaking. I've seen them grow from nothing. It's not as if they had one big chairman that sorted them out, and that's something, it counts for something, because even this generation, that they're not even looking at that whole grind or having the patience for that grind. So it's important they also understand what people have gone through, to get to this point. But you've seen a lot. You've had a lot of exposure. For you to do something like this, you've seen where it could possibly go in terms of tech, and not just with procurement, also with things like project. When you spoke about focusing on what you know how to do best, my mind went straight to project management, because it's another issue. Particularly was that technical business people, there's always that, I have a red and a white helmet. When I go with the white helmet, everybody knows this is a architect or guy trying to tell them, move that wall. I'm not going to shout. I will shout as an architect, but I will not shout as an owner. And when I wear the red helmet, which is the development helmet for the company, I'm going as, I spent this money, you guys, so it's different. So they know, Oga has come as somebody today. But that's different from a typical businessman. So I don't want to use that, because at least there's project management skill and there's also project management capacity. But for those that are businessmen, they need that project management service. And that's how I see a couple of these things. Something like what you're doing in project management as well. Even the whole architecture scene is changing. They're not big offices anymore. There are people working freelance. There are people doing the designs, and it's better. So and they face reality. There's no point trying to see how you can skew things to work for you. So I just want you to, first of all, just give us a very, I feel some people, I'm talking because I know you, and I'm not doing them that favor, because some people I need them to know what it's about, the movement, what you're trying to do, and then I want us to segue that into the future, what you see as the future of real estate, and put a pointer more on technology and real estate generally.
Yeah. I mean, thank you so much for this opportunity. So I think I can put what Cutstruct does into two very simple buckets. The first thing is that we sell building materials. We make it efficient for you not to need to talk to so many people, but talk to one person and get your building materials at the right quality, at the right quantity, and at the right time. Any project manager knows the importance of those things. The second bucket is that for financiers who typically have no issues with funding, but have operating snags. They set out to do 1,000 units a year. They end up doing 500 for a variety of reasons. We have built technology that helps them have the ability to allocate their resources properly and increase the amount of their success rate, basically. And so for some of our customers who had a 60% success rate, their success rates are moving up to about 75%, 80%, because all the bottlenecks that typically will slow those projects down have been properly thought through by us and built into a platform that has become their operating system. And so now the developer is on there, the OEMs are on there, everybody's on there, transactions are transparent, are timely, and are recorded, so they get data from it. So basically, we just make sure that developers and financiers can focus on their core while we, Construct, deal with everything supply chain for making that happen. And that typically accounts for, like you said, 60-75% of total operating cost or 75 to 85% of construction cost.
So John, that means that I can, if I even, so for people like us that want to be transparent with even our own funders. Let me tell you what I do immediately. Anybody giving me money for projects, I don't want the money. I don't want the cash. I want to purchase the materials directly. So if I have an account with your bank, move the money to the supplies. So basically, in this case, a construct can come in between and be that guaranteed. Because what's your fear as an investor? You want to first of all know that the person doesn't spend the money on the project, one, and also that the project is actually moving. Because once it's moving, they are sure of their money coming back. So obviously, I'm speaking on the fact that I can see this happening easier for them to know, okay, so let's be on this platform with you guys, and then we see how this money runs through. So we've seen that the money has gone to the project. We've seen that there's a credible hand to give us that data. You know, I'm also trying to simplify it for people to know that, look, just make it easier for yourself.
And you know what we also do? We've also understood that there are times when, for reasons that are beyond us, you can still get a cheaper price somewhere else. At such points, you present that invoice and we pay. So it's not a monopoly. We've not locked you in.
Yes.
And then one day we are now the more expensive one killing you. No.
I can see this working perfectly for somebody that has funding or knows that he can pull it off. Obviously, there are some that are just really trying to make it happen. Is there any, I mean, everybody's in it for business, but is there any solution for such people? People that are looking for X number of days for supplies so that they can recoup. People that are looking for some kind of short-term procurement finance, which will help them to equally try to, leverage, so to speak, So are there opportunities like that?
Let me read a message to you. And I won't call his name so he won't be upset. Morning, bro. I'd like to pay back the money for the materials I collected. Could I please get the account number so I can do it? Then he said, sorry, never mind. I've seen it on the invoice. He has our account details. I said, okay, bro. And then he sends me the alert. He said, money paid in full, bro. He had asked for 14 days. This was 7 days after. Money has come in from his off-takers. He has paid for the materials. He said, thank you too. You guys are really trying, oh. He said something about another company that I won't read. Then he now said, I'm loyal to you, bro. Then he sends me some of the complaints about the other company, the other things he did. And I said, wow, I'm so sorry to hear that. And he said, it is well. This is real life. This was yesterday. Yes. We have, and this is why, I say this is what we do. We've been able to secure funding to be able to give developers with credibility credit. So you don't have to pay all your money up front. In some cases, if you're new, we may have you pay a portion, or we may have you transact for a bit.
You can't just start off
That's
like
for a few
that.
documentation, just to see sort of like your cash flow and stuff like that, to be sure that you are good for the credit that you're taking. But yes, we understand that you can never do construction without financing. And so for developers who don't have access and structure to get financing from DFIs and from the places where there's real estate finance, we give them material financing because that's what they really need. The off-takers will pay when they see movement.
Yeah, it's all about
and
movement.
They need materials. And so that's one of the biggest things that we do today in terms of just making it easy, for our customers to have access to materials and not need to always pay down. Now, it's also important that they also show good faith by, of course, paying in time, and even when they don't pay in time, sometimes making sure that we're clear on why and what. And, there's a lot that goes into, debt recovery and stuff like that. But, yes, absolutely, that is there for developers who want to build. Some people think it's about the glam. They don't want to build. Those are not the guys we're talking to. But there are people who want to build and who are building surefire projects that will sell. We support them.
Super. So I think we just go into the future conversation. What do you see? Technology, real estate, with what you're seeing is happening in Nigeria, Dirty December. One very important thing is that you can actually see the wave of new designs being implemented. So what do you think?
I think that change is just inevitable. And I say to my team, we're not special. If you don't do it, somebody will do it. Progress will happen whether you do anything or not. The question is, will you be part of it? Will you be part of it? That's the only question. Because the world has become such a global village that my 12-year-old son has an American accent, not because I have it, but because the people he talks to every day are Americans on a device. So what accent do we have?
When you say that, your child is in school in America, and that's why he's having an accent.
This one is
it's
here.
It's already,
and he has it.
It's already, yes.
What that also means is that he will make global style decisions. And the person who sees ahead and plans for that generation is the guy who will cash out, and you call him an overnight success. The person who insists on the old way of how we did it. So I'm not even talking about real estate, I'm talking about life. Technological advancement and advancement in general, because there's advancement in taste. There's advancement in style. Once upon a time, you're wearing a very nice native. Once upon a time, if you put sneakers under this native, you were seen as a bushman.
Yes, full bushman.
I promise you, if we step out now, 8 of 10 people are wearing sneakers under their native, including directors of companies. The trend has shifted. The guy who insists that he will make that loafers, his market has reduced.
Yes, the palazzo and things.
Is the reality. Today we are wearing baggy pants. So the point is, I see real estate being shaped by innovation. Not in the idealistic and fairy tale way, but by little shifts in how we do things. There's a conversation we want to have. It will be a little shift. It will change many things. There are little shifts. So for me, it's us being intuitive enough, and for CEOs more directly, being able to take some time to step out of the chaos and think into the future. The other thing is also looking for creative ways to collaborate. And a lot of times this word has been overflogged. I even hate that I said it, but it's a reality. We need to. Now, we've had challenges with collaboration in the past. Partnerships have broken, many things like that. So sometimes there's a reason to be scared about it. Does that mean that we should also be innovative in our approach to collaboration? Because, we think innovation is just technology, software. No, sometimes innovation is even approach to business. These are conversations we must have because they will happen. If not, what will happen, unfortunately, is that all our talents will jackpot. And I don't know whether you will start doing your secretary's job or your accountant's job or your QS's job. Right? You can't. So we need to build our ecosystem ourselves. And it's first of all by us having honest conversations to say, what are the levers that we can pull? What are the quick wins? What are the quick changes we can do? And let the ride of innovation take its own course. I don't think there's anybody that can force it, but I think over time it's going to continue to change. And the companies that are ahead in terms of just futuristic thinking will be the first gainers. And of course, the laggards will come later.
Yes.
But then a lot of us would have cashed out. I'm not planning to be working
Yes.
like this till I'm 60. I'm sorry. Have max 10 years to grind. After which I want to be doing podcasts and I want to be, giving back. So I'm going to be in front. The question is, who is joining me? Let's do it together.
Perfect. So John, it was nice having you. Do you guys have any plans to go beyond Nigeria, Africa, global?
Yeah. I think Africa, we have plans to go across Africa. The challenges that we face on the continent are peculiar to us.
I think when you're in an environment where you have the worst problems, it's easier in other places.
And to be honest, problems are opportunities, depending on who is looking. So the guy who solves the big problem is the giant slayer, right? And so for us, starting with Nigeria, which is sort of the biggest and the most complex market, helps us develop the muscles that we need to be able to sort of scale across the African continent. And who knows, we may have some international plays over time, but I think more importantly, we want to focus in Africa.
So we have a couple of things happening already: Zanzibar, Kenya, Liberia, Gambia. So we'll pull you guys along as well, because for me, it's important that there's that collaboration, and that's actually the main reason for the roundtable. The idea is bringing those people together, collaborating, talking about not just events, talking about what would actually shift. So we're dealing with students, we're having workshops. I'm going to invite you for a couple of those conversations. The whole idea is for the young ones coming up to know what's going on, and also for them to think differently. John, thank you so much. Yeah. It's a pleasure having you around. You want to say something?
One more thing, yes, just based on what you said about the young ones, I think that there's a lot of value from the young and the old collaborating. The reason is that I say to my young folks, including myself, I'm young, there's no shelf where you can buy experience. If there was, I would go and buy, give me 30 years there. Experience can only be gained over time. And that means there's something that the older guy knows that you don't. Forget about it. It's not a conversation. It is what it is.
Yes.
Just by virtue of being here 60 years, 70 years. And that's why I always go to my older egbons in real estate and tell them these things. Then they will laugh. Then they will tell me, but I always come out with things to look out for. Now, on the other hand, the younger generation hasn't seen the World War. They haven't seen cassette. There's so many things they didn't see. They were born into a world where they could talk to people across the world without just with a device.
Yes, no restrictions.
So their creativity knows no bound. We told the older generation to think outside the box. These guys were never in a box.
Yes.
And so creativity that is harnessed with experience is so powerful. And that's what the real estate companies and the prop tech companies are doing. That's what the traditional banks and the fintechs are doing. That's what the hospitals and the health techs are doing. We are too structured to do this. You are agile and nimble. We'll do small experiments just to make sure that you don't fall into the pit holes that we can see, but you can't see because you're excited. We strengthen the value propositions and we fly. There's money on the table that we're wasting when we don't do that. It's a message I like to pass.
Brilliant. John, thank you so much for coming through. It doesn't end there. There's some of the collective conversations that go on, 3-4 people around the table, So yeah, I mean, a part of the family is something that we'll know you're going to be invited several times. But I think it's just good as an interlude or an introduction, because most of all those key speakers are all going to just have their time at the podcast, so that you can relate to, oh, that was the person that said this and all that. But we're trying to really do something right for the industry, do something right for business, do something right for those that are coming. There's just so much. I mean, this came from just not even making presentations, but just gisting about your issues, and you see people come and say, yeah, that thing you said, and I feel it's not good to stay inside of us. So thank you so much for sharing your story. I know that a lot is going to happen, and definitely we'll talk more on business.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Cheers.